Good evening, Audrey, or afternoon, or whatever. What's the 7? Yeah. I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, you're not very loud, so let's speak up a little bit. Because we're gonna do 3 kind of basic things today. First, we're gonna go over the sentence structure PDF file that I sent you. And we'll just kind of go over it and I'll explain a couple things on there, okay? And then we're gonna go over your essay, rewrite, or the essay from the question about history in teaching in schools. And then the third thing is we'll go over and we'll do some practice speaking, mainly like maybe part 2 and part 3, okay? Okay. So, are you ready? Well, hello, Pooja. Where are your glasses?
Yeah, we got to
Huh?
eat.
We will go to sleep. That's why she.
Oh, okay. So anyway, let me go ahead and share on the screen for this, here. Okay. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll go over these 2 quickly. I think the first one is, okay. Let's, look at this one first. Okay, so, and I'm not gonna this is like 2 pages, so that's okay. Let me get a comment thing here going, so I can. Okay, so. Oh, wait a minute, I had it on there already. Okay. So let me just have this and make sure I can do this. Okay. So the last time we talked, and remember that my video wasn't working right and so forth. What happened? You know what happened? My USB cord going into this hub of USBs wasn't working in that hub, so I changed it to another one. Connection. It was just a connection thing. It's the camera wasn't actually being on. So it was using the computer camera, which is really not very good. So anyway, so I got that fixed. Okay, so let's look at this. Okay, so you know, in a word, in a sentence, it has to have a noun and a verb, right? The minimal. You have to have a noun and a verb. Okay. So, but usually plus a predicate. Whoops. So this is the noun is the subject. And the predicate is the main word. Okay, so like main word, let's see, CATE. So that's the word. Word. I'll just put that there. So the noun plus the verb, like he swung the cricket bat. Okay, he is the noun or the subject. He swung is the verb, and cricket bat is the predicate. Okay, so so as you can see, these sentences, it has both the subject and the predicate can consist of many words. The simple subject is the main word in the subject. The simple predicate is the main word in the predicate. So the following sentences to show the subject in red and the simple predicate in green. Well, the predicate is actually the verb, but which actually relates to what the subject is doing to that. So the teacher speaks a little Russian, or what it's about. So I'm not going to go into all that too much, but we have like simple, what your question eventually originally was, is that what is the difference between simple and compound and complex sentences? So so my teacher speaks a little Russian. Okay, so that's just one simple, it can stand alone in itself. Okay. The young girl with long black hair fell from her bike yesterday in heavy rain. That stands alone. So a simple sentence is just basically a simple subject and a predicate, and it doesn't have any other parts of it that will not stand alone or can stand alone in addition to the other one that stands alone, the simple one. So in other words, I'll show you in a minute. So let's just look at it this way, okay? Simple contains a single independent clause, like I don't like dogs. Okay, our school basketball team lost their game in the last season of 75-68. The old hotel opposite the bus station in the center of town is probably going to be knocked down at the end of the year. That's a single independent clause. It stands alone. There's like, if a sentence doesn't have a complete, a sentence has to have a complete thought or a statement. Complete thought. That's not a T. Not that. That's Malayalam. Okay. Has to have a complete thought. If it doesn't, it's called fragmented. Fragmented. In other words, it's like a fragmented piece that doesn't have any context to it, so you don't know what it means. Okay, so it doesn't have any meaning. It doesn't have a complete thought. So an independence clause in every sentence has to have a complete thought, but it's made up of components. So a simple sentence is just in single independent clause, single. Okay, now the compound contains two independent clauses. So you can say our basketball team lost their game, last game of the season, 75-68, and and the next year we won our last game of that season. We lost our game of that season is a complete sentence. So you have two sentences put together or joined by a conjunction. So that's like and, or, but. Those are conjunctions. So I don't like dogs. You can just say, I don't like dogs. And then you can say, my sister doesn't like cats. But if you put them together with the and, I don't like dogs and my sister doesn't like cats, that's a compound sentence because it has two independent clauses. I don't like dogs and my sister doesn't like cats. You can say, I don't like dogs, but my sister loves dogs. So you can do that. You can write on paper or you can use a computer. You can say you can write on paper with a pencil and add more to it, but it's still a complete independent clause. You can write on paper with a pencil, or you can write on paper with a pen. The tree fell onto the school roof in a storm, but none of the students was injured. Okay. So that's, do you have an understanding of that now? I do.
Yes.
It's pretty easy. Now, complex sentences, it's different than a simple or compound. It contains one independent, at least one independent clause. Oh, I'm sorry. You have one independent clause plus one or more dependent clauses. A dependent clause starts with a subordinating conjunction. So it says that, because, while, although, were, if, however, those kind of words. You know, if it says but, and, or and, but, or, if that's a coordinating conjunction. A subordinating conjunction is one in which, after you make the statement of the first independent clause, then what follows is the clue is what follows is that this subordinating junction will lead into the dependent clause or clauses. So I don't like dogs that bark at me. Okay. When I go, you don't have to have a conjunction either. So you can say, I don't like dogs that bark at me. Okay. That's an independent clause. When I go past, that's a dependent clause. She did my homework while, let's see, while was used here. You could say, I don't like dogs that bark at me. When. See, that's the subordinating conjunction is when I go past. That's actually an adverb, but anyway, when I go past. I'm sorry, not an adverb. Preposition, I'm sorry. She did my homework while her father cooked dinner. So she did her homework is independent, but when you say her father cooked dinner, it's dependent, but it's tied together to what the first thing said. It ties back into what was being said, that she did her homework while her father cooked dinner. You can write paper, although you can write on paper. A computer is better if you want to correct mistakes easily. So the reason why that's not an independent clause, you could simply say a computer is better if you want to correct mistakes easily. Well, the problem is that you can't say it that way, because if you say it's better, well, what are you comparing it to? Is it better than what? So it's not complete. It's not a complete independent statement, because you have to have the first part of it in order to make sense of the second part. Do you understand all that?
Yes.
Okay. So I said a fragmented sentence. So a dependent clause standing alone without an independence clause is called a fragmented sentence. So that's what I said before. Compound complex contains three or more clauses, and two of them are independent and one is dependent. So I don't like dogs, independent. My sister doesn't like cats, independent, because subordinating conjunction, they make her sneeze. dependent clause. So that's a dependent clause. And that's a independent clause. And that's an independent clause. Okay, that's subordinating conjunction. Okay,
Okay.
so the statement is I don't like dogs and my sister doesn't. There's the, and that's the conjunction, remember I said it's called a coordinating conjunction. Okay, so that's a coordinating. Conjunction. So I don't like dogs and coordinating. My sister doesn't like cats. Two independent thoughts or sentences. But because they make her sneeze, so they make her sneeze is only makes sense when it's relating to the first two statements. So that's sort of compound complex. It just basically just has two independent clauses and then follows with one dependent clause. So you can write on paper, but coordinating conjunction using a computer is better. Okay, so this one, it's a little different. That's the deep, this is the independent, the first one. Number one. But using a computer is better is a dependent. And you can easily correct your mistakes is independent. So they don't have to be like an independent, then an independent, then a dependent. You can have an independent and then a dependent and then an independent. So, but using a computer is better. You don't know what it's referring to unless it follows, but you using a computer is better as, that's subordinating, as you can easily correct your mistakes. Okay. So here's another one like that. The tree fell, that's independent. None of the students was injured. That's a conjunction that we talked about, a subordinating conjunction. But none of the students was injured is dependent. Although is a it's also a subordinating conjunction, but many of them, that's a dependent clause. I'm sorry. Let me fix this because sometimes I look at this and let me just fix this. Oops, it's not letting me do it. Anyway. So anyway, this is a coordinating conjunction. I'm sorry. COOR, coordinating. And that's a none of the students were injured is independent. That's the subordinating. And then many of them were classrooms at the top of the building was dependent. Okay, you got that? You just study this a little bit. Let me go to this other one here. Let's see what I did here. This is 1 out of 4. Okay. I just want to tell you what makes a good sentence. So those were basically, so we have simple, which is one independent clause. Okay. Compound, which are two independent clauses or more. The third one is complex, which is an independent clause and a dependent clause with a coordinating conjunction. I mean, yeah. And the third one, the fourth one is a compound complex, where it has two dependent clauses and one independent clause with a subordinating junction. The other one has a connecting conjunction. So when we're talking about a good sentence, what is in a good sentence? Almost everything that you ever say or write has who, what, where, when, and who, what, where, and when, and why. Okay. So when you look at this, and you still have this, don't you? So if you have who in a question, so these are not, it doesn't mean that it's a question, something written or said that's a question. It just means that it says, who are you talking about and what you're saying? What are you talking about? Why are you saying what you're saying? Where are you referring to wherever this is taking place? And then when in the time frame continuum is this happening? Those are just rhetorical questions that are used here to show you that you have to have those elements in order to help people to understand what you're talking about in terms of who it is, what it is, why are you saying this, where it's going, happening, and when is this taking place. That's all they're saying. So like the subject is who. Can you hold on a second? Sorry, Elsa, can I call you back? Okay, thanks. Okay. So who okay, like who is the subject? Who performs, that's what I just said. Who will perform an action or also can be things, you know. Like the piano sounded great. So the piano is a subject, you know, it's not a person, but it's something that is performing an action. What is a verb? Which action? You know, he plays the piano. Well, the action is that he's playing the piano. Okay. Why is it the reason for the action? Well, in that sentence, you don't need that because you're not trying to. If you said he's playing the piano because he loves music, that's the why. He said if he plays the piano because he plays the piano in the concert hall because he has a large audience he wants to perform in front of, then there's where. And then he plays the piano during his lunchtime, you know, that's when. So just remember that every time you ever write anything or whatever, just make sure that the whoever's reading or listening to what you have to say understands basically what those terms of reference or those kind of points of reference, because invariably it's going to put everything into context. All the subjects and verbs and all the different words that you use will all connect in reference to those different entities of reference. Okay. So I'm not gonna go over that anymore because these are just, you can look this over. There's some things that you can fill out. And I don't want to take the time on this because we've got a lot of other things to do. But you can look at that if you want and do that. So so that's what I wanted to cover today about sentence structure and sentences, just basic knowledge of sentences. Now, and this is pretty obvious that the difference between English and say Malayalam or Hindi and all that is that we have the subject, verb, object order, word order, and then like Hindi, it's like something like, it's different. You use the verb last. And I'm not going to say any Malayalam, although I can think of some. I'm not going to try it, okay? But you can understand like he to the store goes. Okay, however, pogum, is that to go? Pogum? Oven, store, pogum, something like that. So is that sort of right? Okay. So anyway, and in English, he goes to the store. So the verb is, he goes to the store. Okay, so it's a different word order. Actually, German is also subject, object, verb, by the way. Okay. So let me redo this new share. Okay, okay, so what we're going to look at now is your rewritten essay that we did, which is right here. I started to do a few things on here, and what I wanted to show you. First of all, I wanted to start with the question because I'm going to try to do this the best I can in order to help you understand suggestions that I have and corrections. And, in terms of the grammar and word choice and how what is grammatically correct or not, subject verb agreements, S's and ands and da and all these things I'll point out. But in the other part of it is just content. And so when I'm looking at this, we'll start off with the question, because in the question here, let me change the color to like blue or something. Okay, so in the question here, which I rewrote, I didn't give you the full question, which is kind of, I'm sorry I didn't do that. Okay, I gave you this, but I didn't include this. So this would have helped you because they're prompts, okay? So some people think that studying history is a waste of time, while others think it is essential to learn. Discuss both sides and give your opinion. So that's the actual statement that you're going to base your opinion on. They have two sides of the argument, okay? One is a waste of time, and number two, it's essential. So those are two sides of the argument. So when you make a comparison or you're trying to relate one, show one side of the argument than the other, it doesn't necessarily, and then it says give reasons for your answer and include any relevant examples. Oh, I'm sorry, I want to say this first. Discuss both sides of 1 and 2, discuss each one of those and give your opinion. So when you give your opinion, it doesn't mean that you have to take one side or the other. You can make a statement about one side of the argument, like studying history can be when you answer the question, the first thing you have to do is paraphrase the question, and then you have to follow up and give your opinion based on what is said in the question that you paraphrase. So you have to start to explain it in the opening paragraph. You just do the question and leave it there, paraphrase. You have to do another leading statement saying, this is my opinion or whatever. Okay, and then in the body of your work, you'll have to explain what you mean. So that's why it says give reasons for your answer and include any relevant examples. So you have to have reasons, examples, and it says from your own knowledge or experience. So unfortunately, when I gave you this question, I did not give you this, and that's part of the actual question on the test. So that was kind of unfair. And I know when you wrote me, you said, I don't quite understand what they want. Now I can understand what you meant, because I went back and I looked what I sent you, and I realized that I gave you something incomplete. So I'm sorry about that. But having said that, I think that we can look at this now with that in mind and see what we can do with what you did on that, notwithstanding what you did on your exact essay here. Okay. So, you know, this is like supporting evidence. To support the arguments or your thesis about what your opinion is and what you're going to base your opinion on. Okay. So, so it doesn't mean when it says give both sides and give your opinion, it doesn't mean that you have to take one side or the other. You can discuss one side, then you can discuss the other, then you can say in your opinion, I agree with this part of number one, you know, on these points, and yet on number two, I agree more with some of these points. And although number one, it can be a waste of time. However, if you really do apply number two in terms of what it means or impacts your life or other people's lives, then from my experience, I say that that would be the stronger argument, something like that. You see what I'm saying? Okay. If you have a doubt, let me know, okay? Because sometimes I go a little fast and sometimes I speak in ways in which you may not understand clearly what I'm saying because of my manner of speaking and some words that I might use that, you know, might be confusing or you might not understand. Do you understand so far?
Yes, I can understand.
So can you speak louder? You don't understand?
I can understand.
You can understand. Okay, good. Good. Because if you said I don't, then I can go back and help you more since you do so far. So, so anyway, remember all this. You have 40 minutes and you need to do at least 250 words. I didn't count these words. These look like less than 250. Okay. I can just tell. Okay, so so let's look at this. Okay. So this is what basically is an opinion question. And in another sense, it's a comparison question, but it's more, since it says give your opinion, you're going to give your opinion on one aspect or the other, or different aspects of one and different aspects of the other, but what you favor the most. Okay, what your strongest view is on this. I mean, personally, honestly, I think for anybody to think that studying history is a waste of time is sort of not very, a little bit arrogant, a little bit kind of opinionated, and there must be something that they don't like about history. That's what it implies to me. It doesn't imply that they're not looking at history objectively. They're looking at it in terms of their own experience and how they don't care about it. So they would probably say they think it's a waste of time. And people who think it's essential to learn, I think there are some reasons that you gave here in your essay that I think are valid, and I think that's the way you're leaning on this. And I would say that on this particular question, I don't think that you can say, I think you could say some of the points that a person that says it's a waste of time might make. Like, math is more important because it's applied to everyday work and accounting and engineering and all these other kinds of practical kind of occupations or professions. Why would you want history, But you could say, although, they may not be relevant to a person doing accounting in their job, it's still relevant because who they are has something to do with the traditions of history passed down that help them make them like they are in their culture. So I mean, you can make those kind of arguments, okay? So let's look at this. Let me make it a little bigger. I did a little bit of marking here, but I've got also some other things here I've made notes on. Okay, so let's look at what you said so far. During our studies, we learned multiple studies. Each subject has its own priorities, even though some people think learning history is not essential, but others believe studying history, studying this subject is essential. Okay. So you've attempted to paraphrase the question. Okay. But there are some things that are not quite clear in the way in which you phrased or you worded this. Okay. And this is another thing about the sentence structure that maybe be able to help you that we just went over. During our studies, you could say during our studies, while in school, you have to give some sort of reference. When I said who, what, where, when, why, whatever, during our studies, well, during when? During while in school. Okay, so you have to qualify that. You have to give some relevance to what that means during our studies while in school. So while is a conjunction that coordinates this with this. So during our studies, while in school, we learn multiple studies. Okay, that would be a complete good sentence. And you would be able to say during, which implies a time duration. Okay. So while in school would help to complete that thought. Because, okay. So we learn multiple subjects. I would say just various subjects, not studies. Okay. Because it just kind of simplifies it a little bit more. Okay. Okay, now, so what I'm going to do is I'm making this like what we're doing, an independent clause. During our studies while in school, we learn various subjects. Okay. In which, okay, each field of study has its own priorities. So you have in which is that coordinated conjunction. So this is a dependent clause. Each field of study in which has its own in which each field of study has its own priorities. So that's a complex sentence. So here's an independent and dependent clause. During our studies while in school, we learned various subjects in which each field of study has its own priorities. Okay. I already wrote that, so I don't need that there. So you don't need even though. You need to say that. Okay. Because you're making a statement, you're saying this is the fact. That you go to school and there are multiple or various subjects that you study. And each one of them has its own priorities, which is really good. That's good that you put it that way. Because it kind of opens it up to saying, well, it's not dogmatic where every subject is equal, or about the same thing. It's all about different things. And each different thing has an application that's different from one to the other in somebody's life. So when you put it like that, that's good. That's really good that you put that thought in there. Okay. And then you can stop that sentence right there. And then you don't need to even know. You can say some people think learning history it's really non-essential. I want to show you something here. You said people, so I would say some people think learning history is non-essential, but others believe studying this subject is essential. Okay. You can, I would, when you do redundancies, you use the same word twice. You would say something, you would rephrase that a little bit. You would say, some people think learning history is non-essential. However, it's a better word than but. However, others believe studying, let's see, believe that this is, I'm trying to not use studying, so, but however, others believe differently, or have a different view than this, concerning, okay, I'm going to try to keep what you have. Some people think learning history is non-essential. However, others believe studying this subject, they have a different view and others have a different view. Well, I guess this is okay, but others believe studying this subject is, so what we're trying to do is replace essential, is relevant and essential. How about something like that? To our society. I know you can't read that because it's kind of struggling with my pen. So, others believe that studying this subject is relevant and essential to our society. Because you're going to talk about, it's not just essential in general, but it's what is it essential for? Or what is the effect of it being essential? How does it impact? Who does it impact? What does it impact? That's society or person's profession or whatever. You can say society and one's profession or his life's pursuits or something like that. Okay. So that's good. The only thing you left out is I believe that it is essential for the following reasons. Simple as that. I'm assuming that you believe it's essential because what you wrote later indicates that. So when you conclude it, then you can say, because I said all these things, it does show that it really is essential. And then really my view is really strong on this point. Okay. So that's the introduction. So you have your paraphrase there. And then you have your opinion here. Okay? You're stating your opinion. Now this is the body of the work. Body. And then this is a conclusion that you wrote. So, so this is number one. Okay, this is number two. Right there, it's essential, and this is a waste of time. Just for clarity, because I put it in this order, I would reverse these two paragraphs. Okay. So this paragraph should go first, and then that second, simply because that's the first suggestion about what that view is. And then the second is the second view. So just do it like that. That's more logical. So, so then you can say on the other side, you can put that there instead of here. Okay, so let's look at number one first, since we're reversing it. So you don't need any of this. Okay, some of them. Who is them? You could say some people who think that history is not important, okay? In their studies, say it only for, and this is good what you said. I'm just saying that you have to say who. So some of the people who have the opinion that it's not important or not necessary or a waste of time, you can say that too. Use the argument that learning history is only to memorize some important dates, even that don't help them to get a better job. I'm just kind of I'm not going to rewrite this word for word. I'm just trying to give you the idea to keep a logical flow and to say what you're saying as simply and as possible, but include what you need to say to make sure that people can understand the reference of who and what and where and when and why and all that, so that it has this logical flow to it. Okay, they can follow it simply. Okay, so you know, like some people who think, or some of those people who think, you can say some of those people, or some of the people. So you have to put the. No, you don't have to put that there. So some people who think it is only for memorizing, you need an ing, because that's a present continuous. Memorizing some important dates. It's only for memorizing some important dates and names. I would put in places. Do not help them to get a job. Period. Instead, they feel people should learn other subjects like math and science. However, at this time, you could say, however, these days, the percentage of jobs available related to history studies is comparatively less than what? Than other subjects. Other subjects. Therefore, new sentence, therefore, the majority of students with this view prefer to study other subjects rather than history. It's a good, really good paragraph. It's simple, but it includes a lot, okay? And then, so let's look at number 2 now. The supporter, how on the other side of the argument, or conversely is a better way. Conversely means that this is the opposite viewpoint. That's a way, an easy word to use to say that. Let me get some water here. Conversely, supporters of history as a subject suggests that you don't need a comment. It tells the younger generation about the problems and solutions that's just grammatical, our ancestors faced. Moreover, it also tells about our culture and mostly influence how it influences politics, how history influences politics, because politics is an essential, or politics. I kind of did that. I kind of said something like, conversely, some of them say history is only good. I'm sorry. History also tells about our culture and how politics has evolved through the historical events and trends of the past. That's what you're really trying to say. So, in other words, when you're writing this part of this, it tells about our culture and mostly how history has influenced politics, or has influenced. That's really has influenced politics, in which has influenced politics in which politics have evolved in the framework of history. Can you remember that? I'm not going to write that because it's going to be too messy. But if you can remember that, okay? Because you're really trying to say that politics is really a result of how, through the evolution of history, it's carried on traditions and yet made adjustments and changes. But history is a vital part of politics because of its because of the framework, how it fits into history and how it's evolved over history. That's what you're trying to say, and I think it's really good what you said. Okay. Does that make sense, Adu?
Yes. You confused about that sentence. How can I write that sentence?
Okay. Let me
Our culture
move down. Let me move this down and write it like this. Okay. Okay. Let me-
To rewrite this one more time and send it.
Do you want to try to do that? I'll send you a picture of this. I don't know if it's gonna help you or not. Because, but at least if you learn something from what I'm saying, you don't have to understand every little thing.
I already told you, I didn't get enough words to write it. And that time I message you.
Oh,
I
okay.
got any idea about this.
Yeah. Well, maybe
Okay.
maybe me explaining all this will help you. Okay, and then I told you about the conclusion, just basically saying conclusion, because I believe that it is relevant to society. It's even relevant to the study of math and how math is used, because there's historical references in math, to doing things too. I mean, history's integral part of everything we do. So you could say that in the end. So when you rewrite it, you can say it. I'm not going to go on and on about this too much more, because I think you I think you understand what I'm trying to do here to help you. I think your content is the other thing that I forgot to say is when it gives you the question, and you didn't have this before. So I want you to, it says here, give reasons for your answer, include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. Okay, so since you need more words, then you can add some examples. Like, for example, when I studied history and in my job as an architect, there were certain things that I learned about art history in the context of architecture that I would not have been able to do my profession or even complete my architectural examination without understanding about the history of architecture. Things like that. Or some people say that it doesn't help in medicine, because we're only studying science and biology and all these kind of technical aspects of medicine, but without the history of medicine and how it evolved and how I've seen doctors be able to improve on what was learned before, because they're building on what they had learned before and making something new, but nothing comes out of nothing, right? So when they made computers, they started with very simple things. The original computer really was a Jacquard loom. Let me quit sharing for a second. What's like a Jacquard loom? It has cards in it, and when the needles go up and down, they either go in the holes or they don't. That was made in 1802 by Louis Jacquard in France, and so that was like a binary computer system, actually. And then they built on that over the years. And then, when they started developing Microsoft and all those companies were starting to build even mainframe computers and all that, they were all takeoffs on that. And it all started with history. So I'm just saying those kind of examples, even though you don't have to go into a lot of detail, you can say that the computers have been around a long time, and yet because of history, they would have never been developed unless there was something that was done before. So it's really important.
That it's not not complete.
Yeah.
That's the reason, because I didn't mention about the examples of this.
Well, now that you have, I wanted to show you something else, like real quick. Let me see if I can. Wait a second. Let me fix something here. I'm going to send you just the Okay. Hold on, I'm gonna send you this question just as it was written. Okay. Okay, I just sent you the question from what's on the board here. Okay, and I wanted to show you something else on the board before I get off the wall. I was looking at another question that was very similar. And if you can see this, it's in green here. This
Hello.
Hello, Pooja, where are your glasses? Did you cut your, no, your hair's tied in the back. Okay. So here's another question that's very similar from the IELTS test, right? Some people think history has nothing or little to tell us, but others think that studying the past history can help us better understand the present. Please discuss the two views and give your own opinion. If you want to do that instead of rewriting that, you can. I'll send that to you. Okay, I sent that one to you. The difference in this one and the two, one talks more about being essential in what we're doing, you know, in a practical way. And the other part of the argument was it's a waste of time. On this other question, it says that there's nothing that we really need to hold on to about or understand about the past because it's irrelevant to what we're doing now. And the other part of the argument think that it can help us better understand where we are now, which is more of a better, you know, that's a really more objective viewpoint because you're not making an opinion based on your own biases or your own kind of opinion that is narrow-minded. You're thinking a little bit more out of the box. You're thinking more about, well, it is relevant and why is it relevant? So if you want, this is an easier question for you, I think. You know, so if you want to do that one or write them, but the other one or do both, you can do that. So that's where I'm going to leave you with that part of it so that you can understand. We're really kind of went farther along than to speaking. Do you want to do some speaking today? Or do you want to, let's see, this is Wednesday, you want to do Friday?
Friday. Next class will on Friday, yeah?
On this Friday?
Yeah, Friday.
Friday? Okay. And then we can do speaking then. We'll look at your essay and we'll do speaking. We won't have to do sentence structure or any kind of grammar study or anything like that, okay? We'll look at your essay and we'll go over it like we did today. And then we'll do speaking on Friday.
Okay.
Because we already went over an hour, unless you want to spend some more, do you want to stay longer and do more speaking now? Do you want to stay longer today and work on some speaking? Or do you want to wait until Friday to do the speaking?
Friday.
Friday? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so do your essay. You can do either one of them or both of them, however you want to do it. It might help you to do both of them because one covers kind of one aspect of history and based on the question they're asking you, it's a little bit of a different kind of question than the other one about history. So it's kind of interesting that I found two of them are similar, but they're different. So it might help you to do that, okay? And don't forget to write about your own experience or things that you've observed or that you know about, or some factual things, okay? Because that really is supporting evidence of what helps in making your argument valid and meaningful and relevant. Okay. Where's Pooja now? Where is she?
Pooja is with her father.
Okay,
She's playing with her father.
okay, that's good. Anyway, so I will, we will see you on Friday, okay? And I'll send you a recording of it and picture of this and everything in a little while when it uploads. Do you have any doubt or question?
I got a lot of doubt, and I will send you. If I
Who just sent me a picture of her mom and you, her mom and her, and you and her mom. Aishu's mom, your sister, and you look very much alike
sister.
each other. You look like very, very alike. I noticed that.
like
Yeah, you look like your sisters. I mean, you almost look like you're twins sometimes, you know?
Huh.
So I can see that. Okay, so anyway, we will see you on Friday, okay?
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Adu, and we'll see you later.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.